Hello, everyone. I'm Alex, and this is the Aliveness Habit, refreshing conversations with everyday masters of aliveness. And this is really a series to explore the full rapture of what it means to be alive and how we can each experience more aliveness in our everyday lives. And I have a wonderful guest with me today. Her name is Sylvia Matthews. And Sylvia is a good friend of mine and a client of mine as well. She's a mom, stay-at-home mom. She is a wife. She's a community builder. She's been working with the homeless community in Kelowna for a couple of years now, and an explorer of life, shall we call it. So I am so thrilled to have you here, Sylvia. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share my story.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you're here and that you stepped forward. I put a call out into the universe and you stepped forward. So I'm thrilled that you're here, and I can't wait to share your perspectives and your nuggets with the world. So I'd love to kick off our conversation today with the question: what does the word aliveness mean to you, and how has that experience of aliveness evolved over time for you?
So I've learned a lot about what aliveness, just by the experiences in my life, and especially in the last year after going through quite a trauma. I think my definition of aliveness has really changed a lot. And it's kind of funny. I wish I had known earlier what I know now. It's just like it would have made life so much easier in those dark moments. But as it is, here we are now. And I guess for me right now, one of the biggest things is to really learn, and that you hear it all the time, but to be in the present. And that is such an easy thing to say, but it is a really hard thing to do, especially because of all the different things that life throws at you. So for me, I'd say it's really learning to be in the present and not get stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you want to enjoy all the experiences that life, has, and you look at it with a different perspective. Like you look at it like with the curiosity of a child. So you're not afraid. Like it's always impressed me how kids can just jump into anything and they don't think about it. And it's until they really start thinking about things too hard, then they have trouble. Then they start feeling fear and doubt. And it would be so cool to be able to go through life and just look at everything with the curiosity of a child.
Yeah.
And along the way to be your true authentic self, because the world keeps trying to change you with all the events and different things that happen. And it's really nice to be your authentic self, and to kind of like isolate or insulate yourself so that the really dark things don't steal your soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I know that you've had a very difficult year, and I'd like to offer some context for people who are joining us here today. Your son passed away a year ago, just a little over a year ago, and he would have been 35 this year. And that was a particularly devastating moment, obviously, for you, and as any mother would be able to to empathize with that. And so this year has been quite a year of deep heartbreak and of deep grief for you. And at the same time, there's also been a lot of healing and a lot of growth, so to speak. And I think this presence that you speak of is also an interesting, curious word. I'm just wondering, how have you developed or cultivated more presence in the grief and in the heartbreak that you have been experiencing over the past year?
Well, Um, it has been full of beautiful moments, kind of in between all the dark thoughts and the dark places that you get dragged into. So as a mother, when you lose a child, you just can't even imagine. Like people say, oh, I'm so sorry for you and you're so strong and everything. But you can't quit. You can't quit. You have to go through these spaces, every space, like the dark spaces and the light spaces. I guess it's funny, but my son, he was really smart. He really, and I'm not just saying that. He really was brilliant, and he was very insightful. And he said to me, he would say these things to me, and I didn't get it at the time, but I so get it now. But he would say, Mom, you have to go through the dark to get to the light. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, okay, Nick, yeah, I get it. But I didn't. I didn't until I did. And honestly, I think you just have to be aware that there's shadows. Everybody has shadows. And if you can get through your shadows and you don't run away from them and you face them, there's some beautiful light on the other side. There really is. People have come forth, and even me just being able to tell my story and help other people has been incredible.
Yeah. You certainly your journey through the darkness has been I don't even know what the word is to use there, but it's been so
Yeah.
rich. Yeah, and I'm just curious, what does that look like to journey through the darkness in a way that feels alive?
It it's been so in the beginning, you go through so many phases, because especially as it was our son, as a mom, I went through, first of all, it was anger. Why did this have to happen? And why did it happen to me or to us? You go through all these phases of guilt, because he's your son, you're supposed to protect him. And you go into some really dark places. And even though everybody said they're there for you, you have to face them alone. You have to be there. You have to you can't be like trying to run away and say, okay, I'm going to grieve for a little while and then I'm okay now, I'm good. Because it keeps coming back. It keeps coming back and back and back in waves. And you have to let those waves come in. You have to, like, I will break down and cry in a heartbeat. I probably will here too. But it's just thinking about it. You just have to be ready to face anything and ready to accept that it's going to be dark, but you will get through it. You will come through it. It won't stay dark. You will get through it. And then you start looking at things like, because of the darkness, like my son had an amazing legacy of kindness. I found out so many things about him after he passed that I probably would never have found out in my lifetime, because they do not want to share everything with you. And for me to actually learn about all of these things and these people to come forth with beautiful tributes, it was so heartwarming. I can't explain it other than it just took my heart that was broken and it opened it up and it filled it with light and love, and there was no other way. There was so much coming in from everybody and everywhere that it was really hard to stay in that dark place. It was really hard to, it was, the waves come, it was easy to get caught up in the wave. You say, okay, here comes another wave. I can go through it. Kind of like a panic attack, I guess. Same idea. It's just a fear. It's like a fear of the unknown, a fear of, what am I going to do now that he's gone? How is that going to change what did we miss? How is that going to change the rest of my life? And you accept these things, you think through them a bit, and then you start thinking about, but oh, look at what the beautiful things he did. It's such a roller coaster. It is like so hard. It's different for everybody. My husband did not grieve the same way. And I think that was one of the hardest things. And I totally understand how people become disconnected couples after they lose a child or someone important in their family, or even just anything like where you go through a trauma. But I think it's really important to keep that line of communication open, and that's how you get through things. You have to be your true, authentic self. That's all I can say. And you have to stay like that. The good and the bad, the perfectly imperfect is how I like to say it. Because I'm going to screw up. I'm going to miss things. I'm going to lose it in front of friends and those are the friends that you know and love. People get uncomfortable. They get very uncomfortable. And I don't apologize for that. I said, look, this is how it is. You think I'm strong, but I still have my weaknesses. And when they come, I have to accept them. I can get through them. And that's how you get through to see the light.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there's something arising for me that saying where you turn toward the pain and you sit beside it and you
Accept.
yeah, you
Accept.
sit beside it, you invite it in, you don't like it, but you become more intimate with the pain. And like you said earlier, not running away, I think is such a powerful way in, to be able to invite in the pain and sit beside it and see what it has to say. It's like the pain is the invitation into the light.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Learn as long as you learn so much. I think you just have to be open. Once your heart is open, it's amazing what comes in. And that you just sort of think, wow, have I been sleeping all this time? There's so many things that you appreciate that much more, or that you cherish that much more, or that you say, okay, my life is not that bad. My life has not been great the last while. I had losses, I had trauma, but honestly, my life is pretty amazing. And I think it just makes you appreciate that much more what you really do have.
Yeah. I think appreciation is one of the heartbeats of aliveness, and of resilience.
It
and
is.
and to really be able to appreciate even in heartbreak and in the deepest pain, I think is such a lifeline. And you said, my heart is open, I'm opening my heart. I'm curious, for anybody listening right now who might be going through that darkness that you talk about, how do you open your heart in that space where everything is just contracting and saying no, no, no? How do you keep your heart open?
You share your story. Like you can't be afraid to be vulnerable. Like you have to be okay with saying. And some friends are, it's amazing because some people are just like, you go ahead, say what you have to say, do what you want to do. Some people are afraid to speak my son's name. They're afraid to say anything like, and I'm saying, no, go, I talk about him. I talk about Nick. I talk about him in some ways, like, he's always going to be part of my life, but I talk about him like I include him in things that are still happening in my life. I include him because what things that are happening in my life are as a result of him not being here anymore, which is really, that part really, when you think about it, that's a crazy part. It really is, because you say, well, if he hadn't passed away, this wouldn't have happened and this wouldn't have happened. And there, it's like he's passing on a gift to me, and I'm accepting that gift. And I think when you turn around and accept that kind of gift from a loved one or a loss, it opens your heart. It opens your heart because you say, well, I've been through all this darkness, but look at this beautiful gift I've been given. Like, look at the things that I'm experiencing now. And it actually isn't just my gift, it's a gift that I'm passing on. It's like a pay it forward, because people look at you and they say, wow, you've lost a son, and look at how you're still doing so well. And I say, yeah, so I guess in ways that you are an inspiration to them, that even when life throws you a real dark, curveball that you can't get away from, and you can't get away from it. Like, the reminders are everywhere, and you can't just say, okay, he's gone now and I'm not gonna think about him anymore. Even if you put all the pictures away, you do everything you think would help you, there's always going to be a reminder. And that's okay, because he had a life, and his life was a beautiful legacy for other people. And I cherish that. That is like one of my greatest gifts, and I love paying that one forward.
Yeah, beautiful. I really am appreciating what you're sharing here today, and I know that it's going to be very helpful for many people who are in the darkness and not quite sure where to turn. And on a more practical level, what kinds of rituals or practices did you engage with in order to help you through that darkness into the light?
So I wasn't I had to, if the emotion comes at you, you have to go with it. Like, here comes a wave, don't try and suppress it. Even if you are out somewhere and you start talking and you start, like, if you're not comfortable openly having like tears or whatever in front of somebody, then just go away, like go into a corner, go into another room, but just let it out, because you cannot hold it in, especially in the beginning. I mean, they do say time heals, and it does. It's only been just over a year for me, but already I do notice that the waves are not as intense. They're still there, and I'll still have moments, I'll be sitting in a theater, I'll be watching something, and it might talk about losing a son, or it might be a mother talking about how she feels about her son, or stuff. It'll be little things that will just trigger you, or it'll even be something that you look at and say, oh, Nick would have loved this. Just little things will trigger you, and you just have to just accept it, just go with it, and not hold it in, and let it out. But and also, it's really funny, because I was not religious, and I'm still not religious, but definitely spirituality, when someone passes, and especially someone close to you, spirituality just seems to come in naturally, and it just kind of addresses you, and it makes you think about, okay, what does happen afterwards? Where, like, is this it? Is this the end? Is this, because you don't want to believe this is just the end. You really don't want to believe that. And so it kind of brings you a new awakening that way. And for me, I had no idea, but people that have gone through it, or people that are already, very much in their own spirituality and comfortable with it, they would come and they would say, oh, look for signs. And I'd be, what do you mean signs? But there are signs. And I'm not going to say everybody's different. Some people say, oh, it's feathers. Oh, it's light. Oh, it's this. It's interesting. For me, I was never a huge nature lover, but my son loved nature, and animals have come into my life in the craziest most interesting places, and thanks to technology, they say they're spirit, like they call them spirit animals. Every single animal is like a spirit animal, has its own spirit, has its own meaning, and I had no clue. And it's kind of become like a game to me now. It's like my son is playing this little crazy mind spiritual game with me. Every time I see an animal, I Google it. What does the spirit animal of a duck mean? What does the spirit animal of, I'll see some crazy different animals that I wouldn't even have thought I'd run into. One of them was a scorpion, and I have never seen a scorpion in my life. Came to me on a holiday, and I was like, what the heck is the scorpion doing here? So I Googled it, and it's amazing. It's just amazing what these things mean. I can't say more. You have to kind of do it yourself, but it's like a sign. I take it like a sign that, okay, he's here, he's trying to tell me something. And it's really interesting. It just seems like very significant at that time, and it's like a comfort to me. So little signs will come to different people. Some I also had like feathers, and I know people will look at me and they look at you, and some people will think you're crazy, and that's fine. But like I said, if your heart's open, so many things will come to you, and use what you receive for comfort. Everybody's grief journey is so different. Some people will just say, okay, he's gone, or they'll pray to God and they'll do it in a different way. And everybody's grief journey is different. And it's like whatever holds you close, like whatever calls out to you and whatever is meaningful to you, just use it. Just go with it. Just be open with it. And if it works, it works.
Yeah. And that leads me to wonder, what kills aliveness in that journey of being with the grief? What takes you out of presence with your grief and being fully engaged as you're describing to us?
Okay, so Nick had a beautiful legacy of kindness, and I actually found I found that I had received so much love, I had to pour it out somewhere. And an opportunity came to me to be an advocate for the homeless. Where we live, it's becoming a huge issue everywhere right now, but it's becoming more and more of an issue here. And so I became an advocate of the homeless. I even kind of founded a little group in the name of an advocate that was here in the city that had passed away just shortly after my son did. So it was kind of, it resonated with me a lot, but I didn't even know he had passed away when I started working with this, doing the service for the homeless. And so it resonated with me, and I kind of formed a group. We called it John's Angels after the man that was the advocate, and he was very beloved here. And before I knew it, it went from like 7 people to 35 to 55. And I think our last count is like 180 people. But that's the point being, it's not the point of how many people are there and how many people help. It's the point being of the awareness. And his legacy was the same as Nick's. He used to say, kindness is my religion. And it's funny, that always resonated with me, especially after I heard all the stories of kindness with Nick. So that was my way of giving back, of paying forward. And when you look around and you see what you don't have, like what other people don't have, I guess, in comparison to you, it just makes you that much more grateful. And even though you've been through tragedy and trauma in your life, these people are still going through it. And if you can help them just a little bit, it helps to mend that tear that's in your heart, because I know that I'm doing it as a tribute to my son, as a tribute to this John, and it's bringing awareness and it's bringing hope to people that have not seen hope or are living in a very hopeless situation. And that for me is, I guess that's another gift that he gave me, because my world was definitely more closed in that sense. And that part, when you open yourself, you open to everything, like I said, and that part of me, and it's been incredible. The response has been nothing but incredible, and you see the beautiful human nature in action. I think that's the biggest thing in the way the day and age is right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I know you've been sharing a lot with me about John's Angels, and I've seen the progression, when it first started to now, and I just think it's
Incredible.
magnificent work. Yeah, and I really appreciate how you frame it too, in the context of it being a tribute to Nick, and how that nourishes you, and it keeps his light. It shines a bigger and brighter light on everything that he stood for, and I just think that that's a really important reminder also of how we can feel alive in these really tender spaces, and help to move ourselves forward. You said something earlier when we first started. You said that I wish I had known what I know now back when I was younger. And I'm just curious what exactly you wish you had known back when you were younger that you know now.
Just not to take life so seriously. Honestly, like, I know we're programmed with the news and we're bombarded with technology, and everything looks so perfect on Instagram and Facebook. And I know, because I follow all that stuff too. And I get caught up in all the social media, and it can be a beautiful thing, because it's been a way to share with the world, with my friends, our family, everybody. It's been a way to share things with the world, so that even that way you can keep someone living on, because you can share memories, you can share all these things. But it can also be a trap where you look at everybody and say, oh, everything looks so perfect on Facebook, and how come my life isn't like that? Well, it's really hard to get caught up in that sort of stuff. And I had to admire that from my son. And I still hear his voice in my head, and I hear it from my, Mom, get off your phone. Don't be on your phone so much. He was, I guess, if anybody was my inspiration, it was him. He could go on and off social media, and I mean very much off, not as much on. But he only used it when he thought it was really valuable to him, and not like, sort of a, hey, this is what I'm eating today. He used it to bring out messages that he wanted to bring forward, but he didn't bombard people. In fact, one of the, if I can share, one of the quotes that we took from his Facebook, and he didn't really have a huge amount of things on Facebook, but he liked to post little quotes from time to time. And this was the one we actually used on his, we had a beautiful ceremony of a celebration of life for him, not a funeral, not a service, but it's a celebration of life, where like literally 150, and we could have probably had more of his beautiful friends and family came and just talked about him. We just shared pictures and memories of him, and it was a beautiful thing. And this was the quote that we put on his card. And it was by Robert Bly, which some people may or may not know, but he had a really beautiful way of looking at life. So he said, and this described Nick, and that's why we picked it. To be wild is not to be crazy or psychotic. True wildness is a love of nature, a delight in silence, a voice free to say spontaneous things, and an exuberant curiosity in the face of the unknown. And I look at this message and I get inspired by it. And I see him, and I see Nick. I know it would be something Nick would say and Nick would follow. He very much was his own person. And I had to he was very smart. We tried to conform him to fit into this world, saying, oh, you could do this or you could do that. You're so smart. You could do anything you wanted to be. But we thought we were kind of guiding him or like as parents do. And in a way, we were kind of stifling him because no, he couldn't do what he wanted to do because we were trying to have him fit into this world. And he was always like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. And the funny thing is, he didn't let that bother him. And at first we would get kind of upset about it, like, oh, you don't seem to care. And he didn't. And that was okay. When we see the legacy of kindness he left, he did his own thing. And he made an impact in this world, whether or not it was exactly what we thought he should be or the world thought he should be. A lot of people, he inspired and he touched a lot of people. And that for us was the biggest thing.
Beautiful.
The biggest.
Yes. Thank you. Wow. We're just wrapping up our time here. So I wanted to ask you what one thing is you want to leave us with Aliveness. And it's interesting because you just read that beautiful poem. And I think Nick basically summed it up for us.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like aliveness, wild. What does it feel wild? It's curiosity, spontaneity, and I love it.
He did leave me. We were so grateful. Physically, he and children don't usually do this. Like I said, he was very different, but he left us a beautiful letter. He left me actually 2 beautiful letters, but his wisdom was beyond. It was almost like he was the adult and we were the child. And honestly, I have learned so much just from learning about his life, that he really was the teacher, honestly. And one of the things he left with me was always remember to be patient and kind with yourself along the way. Don't ever forget to love yourself. Yes, it's important to love family and friends and everything, but if you don't learn to love yourself, it doesn't matter, because that love that you think you have for everybody else won't mean anything, because in the end, it's just you have you, and how you perceive the world and how the world perceives you has a lot to do with your self-love, your respect and your kindness and your patience for yourself, because everyone will make mistakes. But if you just go ahead and you learn from them and don't be hard on yourself and beat yourself up, don't hold on to that past. Just think, okay, I did this, I screwed up, I know what I did wrong, I'm going to learn from it, and just don't look into the future, just look into what's going on right now and how you can deal with it, and accept your feelings. Your feelings are your feelings. Accept them. Just don't let them rule your life.
Wow. Sylvia, thank you so much for sharing. I so appreciate everything that you have shared with us today and how you have moved through this space. And, Nick is a very special soul and spirit, and I'm so happy to be
He's smiling right now. He's a really good sense of humor. He had the most amazing sense of humor. I'm going to leave you with one thing, because he knew I would never get a tattoo. I would be like the last person on earth to get a tattoo. But I let go of him physically, and this is my tribute to him. It's the one and only tattoo I will ever get, but it's his signature. And yes, he did sign it with, it's hard to do this. He did sign the I with a heart. And
I love it.
That was his way of it, probably just to me when he wrote a letter. But anyways, I carry him with me. And I think you carry them always in your heart. That's the big thing.
Always.
Carry
Sylvia,
them
thank
always.
you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here with us. And thank you
Thank
very much.
you for having. Thank you. And I'm happy to help anybody if they do need to reach out. I mean, I can't be there for everybody, but if you're really struggling, please get in contact with Alex. I'm happy to share if it helps you.
Beautiful. Thank you.